Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the virtual program today, Recruiting and Retaining Nonprofit Staff with Tracy Smith. I'm Claire Simpson. I serve as the Carey Center Assistant Director of the Community and Collegiate Programs. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment and thank this year's Community and Collegiate Program sponsors who have pledged to support our efforts in providing meaningful programming for the nonprofit sector. Thank you to Auburn University Outreach, the Community Foundation of East Alabama, the University Outreach Office of Public Service, the Drummond Thorne Stooks Fund for Excellence, United Way of Central Alabama, the River Region United Way, KPMG, and a community service grant made possible by State Senator Randy Price and State Representative Joe Lovern. Tracy Smith is currently the president and CEO of Make-A-Wish Alabama. She is a seasoned nonprofit leader with more than 20 years of nonprofit experience. She has led grassroots nonprofits, local nonprofits, and national affiliation. In addition to Tracy's nonprofit career, she spent 6 years as a communications strategist consulting with nonprofits, small businesses, and corporations, working with them on internal and external communication, strategic planning, and team building. She serves on Make-A-Wish America's Strategic Planning Council and their COVID Reemergence Task Force, representing more than 59 chapters across the United States. Tracy received her bachelor's degree in marketing from the University of Alabama at Birmingham and also attended Auburn University, where she met her husband of 33 years. Tracy also serves as my boss as I'm a development intern for Make-A-Wish Alabama, and she is amazing and is great at recruiting and retaining staff, so she is going to do an excellent job today. Thank you so much for doing this. Everyone, please welcome Tracy.
Thank you so much, Claire. My volume, everything okay with the volume?
Yes, it sounds great.
Awesome. Yes, it's interesting that worlds are colliding with me and Claire because we have the wonderful opportunity to work with Claire through our internship program, and she's just done an excellent job. And I'm going to be sad when it's time for her to move on. But I'm so excited to be spending this next hour with everyone, and I'm really passionate about recruiting and retaining staff. And so you'll hear a lot of that and a lot of my examples as I share with you some of the tools, the trades that I've learned or I've developed in how to not only recruit, but more importantly, retain staff. So we will just jump in and get started. And I believe Claire is going to be monitoring the chat. So this is pretty informal and casual. So if you have questions, raise your hand, drop it in the chat box, and Claire, just interrupt me if I'm rambling, and we'll stop and answer questions. All right. So to get started, we're going to just really skip over this because Claire did a wonderful introduction for me. Thank you. But I have been in nonprofit for a while, and Auburn is my heart, even though I finished at UAB and still go to the games and still cheer on Auburn. But we will jump into exactly why we're doing what we're doing and how we can retain staff. And so my philosophy really is about build it and they will come. And it's all about the culture. And so I really feel like if you build the right culture, then you'll attract the right people. And so you have to set the right tone. So create the right culture, set the right tone, and that's what you've got to do first. So we're going to kind of flip this. And instead of talking about recruiting staff first, we're going to talk about how you retain staff. And then from there, we'll talk about how you recruit them, because I truly feel like if you have a culture that is empowering, word will get out and people know, and you want to create an environment where people want to work with you. So we're going to kind of flip it. So we're going to start with how do you really retain staff? And where does that come from? How do you retain that culture? And so I'll really focus on, as you build a culture, you want to really be cautious and be aware of things that could sabotage the culture, and it can happen very easily. So when you're thinking about how you want to build a culture in your office, you want to make sure when you create a culture where staff not only survive, but they thrive. That is safe for them to take risk. It's also safe for them to fail. You want them to be able to be in a place where they can share ideas and share opinions and share feedback without, if it's negative, without it being counterproductive for them. And you want to create this space of empowerment. And with all of that, trust is at the cornerstone. So whether you're a leader and you're leading the organization, or you're a manager, and you're managing people, or whether you even have management responsibility and you can lead up and manage up, it's every single person has a part in how they can create the culture in an organization, with it coming from the top, with it coming from the executive director or the CEO. So that's what we want to talk about the first few minutes, and to really be focused on setting that tone. And then I also want to caution people on things that can sabotage, like I mentioned earlier. So you work really hard to build a culture to recruit and retain the staff that you want to keep, but you got to be very careful and very cognizant of things that can sabotage that. And those are things like passing judgment, whether you're doing it or a coworker or a colleague or a subordinate is. Unsolicited advice. A lot of times, as leaders or as bosses, a lot of times we'll give advice that's not solicited. Sometimes we have to because we're bosses, but a lot of times you want to make sure it's not. You need to be cautious in how you provide that feedback. And really, when you're talking with your teammates and your staff members, you want to make sure they understand. A lot of times people don't want unsolicited advice. They may just want to air out some ideas and share information. So be cautious of that. Distrust is a big one. There are all sorts of ways that you can break someone's trust. And when trust is broken, it's really hard to build that back into a culture. So you have to make sure you have that. You don't have distrust. You don't have dishonesty. And you really don't tolerate cattiness either. So I'm not sure the attendees that are here, I'm not sure out of all of you who are in a director position, who are running organizations, who are running departments, or who are staff in those organizations. But it really doesn't matter if you're a leader or if you're just a staff member. You can contribute to this in a negative or positive way. So make sure you focus on what your contribution is and is to the culture. So let's move on to how to build the right culture and to retain the top staff. So we've talked about things that can sabotage a culture, but now let's really talk about where do you start when you want to create the culture that's a healthy, productive, thriving culture for an organization. And it's really about assessing your current situation. It's really about engaging your team in the culture building process. It's not really about you as the leader saying, this is what we're doing. It's really making sure that your team members are part of that process as you build out your culture. And then really think about, consider, because, with nonprofits, we have a very limited budget. And so you want to consider benefits beyond pay and benefits beyond traditional benefits. My philosophy has always been, if we can do it, I want to be able to, wherever the bar is set for benefits, I want to at least be there or a little better in the nonprofit world to be competitive. But what else can we do that will enhance the culture and enhance that employee's experience while they're with us? So in saying that, I really want to just share, that jumped back. I really want to share kind of a case study with Make-A-Wish. So Make-A-Wish is the fourth organization that I have led. And with each organization that I've led, the culture was one of the things that we needed to improve on. And so with Make-A-Wish, as most people know, it's an incredible mission. And I kind of just want to share with you the journey that we've gone through, because our chapter is now experiencing record numbers in revenue. We're experiencing record numbers in wishes. We'll grant the most wishes we've ever granted this year, and really record number in our culture engagement and our staff retainment. When we do lose staff, it's usually because it's for opportunities that they want to go on into a different career path. Many times they go on to other Make-A-Wish chapters across the United States, or they just purely want a career path that we can't offer them. And as a leader, I'm always passionate about figure out where your staff want to be. And as long as they're with you, you want to make sure that they thrive. But if there's other career paths that you can't accommodate, you want to support that, because you want to be able to, while they're in working with you in an organization, as long as they know you have their support, they're going to go beyond the bare minimum to make sure they're successful in their job. So a lot of times when we lose staff is because we know what their career path is, we're supportive of it, and we want them to be successful as an individual. So with Make-A-Wish, what our situation was back in 2019 is we just really had a non-existent culture. There was no culture. We had very skilled, competent staff, but they all were basically working in silos. There was no team effort cross departmentally. And we have a very strong mission, as most people know, but not really a feeling of a strong team. And so we said, all right, so what are we going to do? How can we create this culture? And so when I say we, it was not me, it was me and the team here saying, what do we want to do? So we spent 2 or 3 days having a staff retreat, just planning out what is it that we as a team want to do? What do we want this organization internally to look like to reflect the mission that we provide externally? So you can see this list that I shared with you. We threw everything out there, and I encouraged everyone to be very transparent. We had rules of our conversations where we weren't going to judge anybody's comments. We were going to be very open, and we were going to be very vulnerable, and we were going to have trust within the group that we were going to be supportive of everyone regardless of what the comments were. So you can see we created a list of what we wanted and what we didn't want in the culture. And it's interesting because you can see no one wants condescending tones. People didn't want to be micromanaged. They didn't want unhealthy competition. Competition is healthy, but not unhealthy. They didn't want an environment where there was no flexibility. And they didn't want to have to wear professional attire every day. I mean, we just talked about everything, and you can see where we wanted to be able to have encouragement to take off vacations. We wanted diversity. I think in here we even said we wanted to be able to bring pets to the office. And so we threw everything out there that we possibly could to say what would be the perfect culture for the organization. And then we aimed as a team to try to do all of those things. And you can see some of them seem minor, but even when someone says, we want to have joy in the office, you really say, well, I guess at some point there wasn't joy. So what can we do as leaders to bring that to the office? And so we work really hard to make sure all of these things on this list, and we revise it year after year. What is it that we want to do to continue to enhance our culture? So what we focus on are our values. And so our values are, we always want to be child focused. We always want to put the wish kids first. We want to be innovative. We want to have a sense of community. We want to have an impact in our community, and we want to have integrity. So we laid all of those things out, and those are our core values. And then we also those are our values from our national office that every chapter follows. But on a state level, in the state of Alabama, this team in Alabama, we said, but what else do we want to do? What do we want our culture in Alabama to be? So we all had just a brainstorming session. Again, we threw words up on a board, and we came up with this statement that you see on the screen now. And it says, Make-A-Wish Alabama is committed to building a supportive and empowering environment of mutual respect and collaboration. So every single team member agreed to that statement and signed off on that statement. And in addition to that, you can see these 5 different categories. Those actually align with the 5 types of wishes that we have. So we wanted our culture statement to complement our mission statement. And so we also said we want to be able to go the extra mile. We want everyone to have initiative. We want everyone to be strategic. We want everyone to meet ethical standards, and we want everyone to give exceptional service. So this took about 2 or 3 weeks to hammer all this out. We had a lot of different renditions. We tweaked it, and then we landed on this. And as a team, it wasn't me as the CEO saying, this is the statement. This is what we're going to do. We all agreed together. Yeah, this is it. This is what we want to live by day to day to ensure that we have the culture that's thriving here at the Alabama chapter. So with all of that being said, we created our value statement that you see here, which I've already shared with you, the child-focused, innovative community. Then we also had our culture statement. And every new employee that comes in here gets this in a frame. Every staff meeting, we start off with it to remind ourselves of what we said we were going to be and to celebrate our culture, because we have an incredible culture, but it takes work. It takes a lot of work to make sure we accomplish it. And so that's what we start off with. And then in addition to that, we wanted to make sure that we didn't want to create the statement and just put it out on the shelf and let it collect dust. It's got to be in the fabric of what we do every day. So one of the things we talked about in creating this brainstorming of culture within our organization, we said we really want to have interactive staff meetings. So we took our staff meetings from the CEO reporting out information for everyone to be engaged. So we always have a positive, inspiring quote to kick it off. We always celebrate, have celebrations. If it's birthdays or anniversaries, we always kick off the meetings with those and kudos. And kudos give the staff members and their peers and their directors opportunities to share just from the last meeting any kudos that they have. So if you had a staff member that went the extra mile, went beyond their department to help out, they always do call outs on that. And it's very appreciative when we take the time to do that. We always have mission moments when we start off our staff meetings. So when we kick off a staff meeting, we want to always remind ourselves why we're doing what we're doing. And all of these things set that continuous tone of the culture that you want. We always review our values, we review our culture statement, and then we also have a framework that's called a TEND philosophy. And this is how we do our interactive meetings. So we start off with the TEND, and the TEND is to remind everyone in conversations, this is what we want to make sure we're doing. We want to make sure that we speak our truth. You can see on the slide the details of what that means. We want to make sure everyone's engaged, that we're not excluding people from conversations. And when we're doing problem solving or brainstorming, we want to make sure that we expect and embrace non-closure. We have healthy debate, but very respectful debate. And there are times where we may have disagreements for whatever reason. Well, we all agree that there may be times where we don't have closure on things that we might not align ourselves with, and that's okay. And there are times where you need to pause and take a break from conversation. So as long as we're being very respectful and trust each other, those conversations can be very productive. And then we also want to acknowledge and embrace discomfort sometimes. So in order to do that, you have to, again, fall back on, you want to create an environment of trust and allow people to be vulnerable. Because if someone's not feeling comfortable or they're not feeling safe and being able to share, then they don't have a voice. And you always want your staff and your team to have a voice. So we remind ourselves of those things as well. So in addition to all of those, so here we are 2019, and we've built all of these things out, and we've lined out, this is what we want in a culture. This is how we want to behave. This is how we want to treat each other. And and through all of that, we said in every month when we have our staff meetings, every week when we have our department meetings, let's remind ourselves of that. And through that, we've had this very robust conversations where it's taken our organization from staff to just going beyond anything we could ever imagine in terms of the impact we're making across the state. And then also, in addition to that, we said, well, what else do you want in a culture? And this was actually before COVID, and everybody was like, well, we don't want to have to be in the office 8 to 5. And I philosophically I believe that as well. I mean, a lot of organizations don't have the luxury of that. They have to have office hours. But for us, I realized we didn't have, like, we are all adults. We are all educated. We all know what we have to do to get our job done. As long as your supervisor is aware of your schedule and approves your schedule, I personally don't care how people get their job done. I'm actually more concerned about making sure that they have a good work-life balance, that they're taking the breaks they need, because this culture is so strong that people are so passionate about what we do. It blurs, like you feel like you never take time off because you're so dedicated to it. So I'm more concerned about the reverse, that are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking time off? Because we have created this culture that everyone here is so giving to our mission. But we talked about hybrid work schedule. People wanted summer flexible. We've offered some flexible Fridays. So if we are meeting our goals and we're on point on our revenue goals and our goals regarding our wishes, around May, I'll announce that we provide summer flexible Fridays, and we give everybody half a day off. If we're not meeting our goals, then we have to have a conversation. But that's another benefit that when I mentioned earlier, beyond pay, think about ways that you can create those cultures that you can offer incentives and benefits that aren't necessarily a paycheck. Holiday breaks, we give a lot of holiday breaks, and whatever there's a holiday, we give the day before half a day off. That just gives everybody a chance to rest and take a break. And most of our staff, pretty much everybody, when we're off, we're still plugged in. And so that's why we're kind of excessive on our time off and our holiday break. We also have a fun committee, and that committee consists of at least one person from each department. And we set aside just a small budget. It may even be, I think, maybe $100 every 3 months. And it's something that they are able to do to provide some kind of happy, whether it's cookies one day for a staff meeting, or during Valentine's, a Valentine's give suite. It's something that they do together that they can that provides a happy for all the staff. And it's not the directors and it's not me, it's peers coming together to say, what do we want to do? So we give them so much money a quarter, and each quarter they do something that's just as fun, happy for the team. We have team building. So we do invest in staff retreats. And again, those can be costly, but you can also do on-site staff retreats. And a lot of those, a big part of our staff retreats are truly just about team building. And we'll do team building activities. A lot of times we'll talk about our goals and our programs, but it's really more about us spending time together as a team. And most of our team activities, either one or two, revolves around getting to know each other better and breaking those walls of communication down. And so most of our staff retreats are really working on how we communicate as a team to get to know each other as a team. And then again, the last thing you see here is we really focus on kudos as well, making sure we're recognizing our staff, not for just doing their job, but for doing and going beyond their job. So those are some benefits beyond pay. And then we also, so through all those conversations, we fleshed out some more benefits beyond pay that really affect our office environment. So with that list that I showed earlier, where everybody just said, this is what we want, this is what we don't want, out of that came some of these things. We said, well, why don't you just dress your day? So you don't have to come in the office looking professional every single day, wearing professional attire like you're about to go to church. Dress your day. So if you don't have any meetings and you don't have any external meetings with anyone, people come to the office in yoga pants. They'll come to the office in blue jeans. But if you have an appointment or if you feel like people are going to be coming by the office, business casual is usually what we go with, but it's really about dressing your day. Then we have events that some are very athletic. We have a golf event, we have a hike event, others are galas where are more professional. So that also determines how you dress. So if you are heading up our hike program and you're meeting with a bunch of hikers, you're not going to show up in a suit. So it's also about dressing your day based on what your meetings are like. Flexible work hours, like I said before, me and my leadership team agrees that as long as everyone's getting their job done and they're checking in with them on their schedule, we really are very flexible. I do encourage everyone to be in the office at least 3 days a week with no time constraint. Just, I want to see your face 2 to 3 days a week, because I do feel like there's synergy in having those informal conversations throughout the day. So that has been really beneficial to us. And I'll tell you, our team is actually more productive than they ever have been because they have that flexible schedule and flexible work locations. If you'd rather work your day in a coffee shop and you don't want to be in the office, that is fine with us. Whatever the environment you need to be as productive as you need to be for that specific day. We also do complimentary drinks and snacks. We always, and Claire knows this, in the office, we budget, and it doesn't cost that much. Sometimes we can get these things donated, and we'll have snacks and drinks in the office for the staff. And when our volunteers come in, we have bottled water, soft drinks. We have some of their favorite drinks, and is one of those things that people just love. It's something nice that they say, "Oh, you see me." We even have everybody wanted a little ice machine that had a certain ice pellets. We got that, and it's just again creating that environment that people want to come into. And then we have mission reminders throughout our office, and so we encourage when we have wish kid pictures, we have wish kid stories, they're all throughout the office that reminds us why we're doing what we're doing, because we all know in nonprofit It is so hard. We're burning the candle at both ends. There's never a break. It's 24/7. And sometimes you can get deep down in the monotony of it. So you have to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. All right. So we've got this culture, and then the other thing that I like to talk about before we get into recruiting is really my philosophy on, because people will tell me, well, what do you do to really set that tone, and how do you encourage? Like, you can just say, okay, everybody be positive, but what is it that you really do? And I developed these what I call 7 key elements to life approaches, that I reference all the time, and I share with my staff all the time, and I share with any leadership training I do. And they are life approaches that really just set the tone with everyday interactions, whether you're in the office or whether it's with a friend or whether it's with a spouse. I really believe these are critical to effectively communicate and interact with each other. And I have to remind myself of them daily too, because sometimes I'll backslide, and I have to realign myself on these things. So again, these are tools I use whether I'm interacting with my teammates here, with complete strangers, or with my loved ones. The first one is that humility is actually a good thing. Humility is really like the quality or state of not thinking you're better than anyone else. It's really the state of being humble, and you realize it's not about you. You listen better, you connect better with people, you're connecting better with people you're interacting with. And those that are people that are humble, they actually feel like everybody else is pretty interesting and they want to learn from them. So if you could try to get that feeling of humility and being humble in your daily interactions, you have more robust relationships. I just truly believe that. People that have humility have this genuine desire to discover what other people can offer. They're intrigued by how others think. We're fascinated around the world around us, and we learn more. So humility really is a courtesy. So I really try to encourage people to be humble when they can. And there's a time and place for all of this. But I feel like I try to label myself as a kind leader and a humble leader. There are times where I can't use those tools, but in most of my day-to-day interactions, that's how I approach it. The second one is also be ego aware. Again, whether you're leading the organization or you're just participating in the organization, make sure your interactions, your ego is not driving your decision. Everyone has one, but you don't want it to dictate your actions. A strong ego can be very dangerous, and we need to understand what the ego really is and what you need to manage it. And there's really not enough time to delve into that. I mean, that could be a session all on its own. But ego aware means really understanding where your thoughts are coming from, and because those thoughts turn into actions. And that's all they are. They're just thoughts. So this can go either way. It can be an inflated ego or it can be a deflated thoughts. So our ego really directs how we interpret everything, and everything that goes on into our daily experience, how we react to it, how we perceive things is all based on our ego. So our perception of any event will determine what we get from that experience. Was it a positive experience? Was it a negative experience? Was it an opportunity? Was it a setback? The answers all depend on your perception. So our ego exercises very strong influence on our perception, and most of the time we're not even aware of it. So if you are someone that can really hone in on your ego and be aware of it, you really can be aware of how you're communicating and how you're presenting to people. And then the third tool that I use is self-evaluation is a must, but there needs to be a balance to that. Self-evaluation is healthy as long as it's productive and you're not sabotaging yourself. So make sure you get out of your head, because you don't want to live in between your ears. And sometimes those thoughts can be negative, but usually I'm always aware of whenever I'm having to have hard conversations, or whenever if something negative happened, I always want to see what was it that I could have done to make that outcome more positive. And so that's really just some self-evaluation and self-awareness. So, but don't psychologically sabotage yourself. You're in control of your thoughts. You're in control of how you communicate. So a healthy self-awareness is good, but again, don't sabotage yourself on that. And then don't be hypersensitive. I try to tell people all the time, if someone's coming to you in a negative way, it more than likely it's not about you. It may be something that's going on with them. So again, just make sure that you are being kind with them, you're developing trust with them, and you're there for them even if they come in a negative way. And that actually tacks on to the number 5, which is give people the benefit of the doubt, because usually something's going on in their world that's causing them to be reactive that way, if it's a negative reactive. And so if that's the case, you can just give them a benefit of the doubt, check in with them. Is everything okay? What can I do to help you? And that usually diffuses that tension. But giving the benefit of the doubt really means don't pass judgment. You never know what's going on in someone's life, and don't automatically assume, oh, well, they're late, or they're not in the office, or they're never here. Just give them the benefit of the doubt, because most of the time there is an explanation for what they're doing or why they're doing it. And if you're building a culture where everyone trusts everybody, everyone's doing their job minimum, if not more, then there should be none of that cattiness of, why isn't this person here? Why aren't they doing this? I will tell you, it all flushes out if you approach it that way. So there may be something going on that you have no idea. I never approach situations with a punitive first approach. I always approach them with an empathetic, try to understand first. And then the 6th thing is be professionally and personally mature. When you're in situations in your office, when you're representing your organization, or even personally for that matter, make sure that you're having those conversations in a very professional manner, that you're behaving in a professional manner, that, there's a time and place on how we talk, how you present yourself, because you're representing that organization. So you're always wanting to be aware of that. And my last thing is just be kind. I mean, at the end of the day, you can create a positive situation out of a negative situation with just kindness. And if you approach everything with kindness, sometimes it turns from that, and you have to be firm, or you have to defend something. But most of the time, if you approach things with kindness, that actually remedies any negativity out there, and it helps with the culture. So those are my philosophies on how you create this culture and keep it positive. So now that we've set this culture and we've got it rocking and rolling, and we've got rock stars in your staff, and everything's thriving, you really want to talk about, all right, now I got a position to fill. Now what do I do? So here at Make-A-Wish, we are in 2019 to 2024, 5 years later. It took us about a year to build out that culture and figure out what we want and how we want it. We've recruited I think the best of the best. I feel like it's cliche, but I do feel like we have the best team ever. And it's because we've created this culture of people want to work here. They hear how we lead. They hear how we operate. The mission is incredible, but they want to work in an environment that we've created. So now that we've got that, how do we recruit them? And now my mouse, it wants to hesitate. Give me just a minute. Let me see if I can advance the slide. Claire, did that go forward? No. Hold on. Here we go. All right, here we go. My mouse, it was spinning. Okay. All right, so we got the culture. So now what do we do? Well, so with recruiting nonprofit staff, you can do the traditional things. We always post on social media. We go to Alabama Association of Nonprofit, ZipRecruiter, Career Builder, all of those things. You want to make sure you have your job posting out there. You want to get referrals. You want to post on job boards. You want to post on social media. Referrals from teammates. Don't underestimate the power of connections and networking within your own organization. Internships. We have had very strong interns that either come into our organization when positions are appropriate and they appropriately match them. We've also had many interns go on to other chapters across the United States. And then just general organic, informal and formal networking. These are the 5 elements on how we recruit staff. So make sure anytime you have a job posting, we always share it with our staff. We always encourage them. If you know someone, let us know, encourage them to apply. And then we also we have a software, Paylocity, that's our HR software, and through that software, we have a platform called Job Target, and it posts on all of the sites I mentioned. Once we post the job in our Paylocity platform, it goes out to ZipRecruiter, Career Builder, Indeed, all of those things. And then we also have an employee referral incentive program. So if an employee refers someone and they end up getting hired, we will either give them a $100 gift certificate, we give them or a bonus day off. You could give them or a gift card. You can give them an incentive program to encourage employees to recommend people that they feel like would be a good fit. And then, hold on, making sure I've got my right line up. So these are the 5 things that we really focus on when we're doing recruitment. We prioritize diversity as much as we can. We try to look at all across the state of Alabama, even though most of our staff are in Birmingham and we need them in Birmingham. We do have we have remote staff in South Alabama and North Alabama. So that depends. So we try to look at ethnicity diversity, geographic diversity. And so we try to prioritize that. Don't ignore internal candidates. I will tell you, we've had staff that were in mission that came over to development that weren't even development people, that had never raised a dollar in their life, but they were passionate about mission. They had an interest in whatever that position was. There have been a number of times I really was hesitant to give that opportunity because they may not have had alignment exactly with the job, but they had transferable skills. And we gave them why wouldn't you give someone internally an opportunity versus externally? And they have all thrived. So they may not on paper look exactly like that position, but if they are already in your organization, they're trained, they understand your mission, they have transferable skills, give them an opportunity. Consider the employee incentive referral program that I talked about. Even if you can't afford, you could even get some gift cards donated. If you can't afford like a cash or time off, there are things you can do that give them incentives to plug into their network. And then if you can, develop a mobile friendly application process. And I'll tell you, we go through all of these referrals, but we have a very formal process of hiring. We have a mobile friendly application process. We have a robust career page on our website. We have a very robust process on when people apply, what are the next steps. It's not just, hey, I got a friend, go talk to them. They still have to go through those steps. They still have to go through the screening process. They still have to go through the vetting process. I actually don't even interview anybody till it gets to the top 3 candidates, and the departments have narrowed it down. So make sure you have, regardless how small you are, make sure you have a very formal, robust process, and it's not a good old boy system. Hey, I got a friend, give them a call, they'll hire you. Okay, so let's see, where are we now? So with that, this is an example of our website page. And Claire's going to send these slides out to you. So y'all are welcome to borrow any of this. You're welcome to borrow any of this verbiage, any of that. We're all about sharing with our colleagues. But you can see we have a section for our careers and our internship program. We have a really strong quote from one of our interns in there. This is what promoting our internship program. And then it has where you can click the links to see our job openings. So make sure you have a presence on your website. Even if you don't have job openings, make sure you always have the static information where people can come and at least seek information for when you do have positions. And then going back to developing a formal process, this is just a list of what we do. So make sure you have job postings with job descriptions and pay range. And I know that's sometimes can be controversial, but if it's a broad pay range, what you want, because there's no sense in wasting time with any conversations with someone if they're over or above. If they're over the pay range, you don't need to waste your time talking, to be honest with you. So make sure you list that. Make sure you have the job description on the posting. Make sure you have an application deadline submission on there. And then once we have all that, at a certain point, we do phone screenings. And our phone screenings usually come through our director of operations, regardless what department it is. And they are very general questions, not questions on job, but general of here's the pay, here's the description, here's the minimum experience, here's what required of the job. Just very simple questions where we can either rule them in or out just on the basic basis of that job description. So she does that first, and then once we narrow those down, then she gives those candidate lists to the director of that department, and then that's when they review all the details. We actually block out any names. We don't actually even look at college experience anymore. It's just the experience and the minimum requirements. And then that's when we start scheduling the in-person interviews. And then after we do the in-person interviews, a lot of times, most of the times, management will schedule times with non-direct reports to interview some of the candidates when we get them narrowed down to maybe 3 or 4, just to see how they would interact with the existing team. And at that point, it's really about, are they a good culture fit? Who do they understand what's needed in this job? Do they understand how they would work with these peers? And like I said, I feel like we hire the best of the best. So you've got to come in above the benchmark. And so it's a really good opportunity for peers. And it's not an interview, it's really just a conversation to get to meet this person and see how really they vibe with our environment, our culture, and what we're expected out of the position. And then after that, once they're narrowed down, that's usually when the leadership team will interview them. That's when I'll interview them. And then they narrow it down to a candidate. And once you do that, you want to make sure you have a formal offer letter. So once you offer the job, you still want to back that up with everything that you said verbally in a formal offer letter. So that is how we really recruit. It's all about networking. It's all about who do you know out there that we feel like should apply. It's making sure you get out there on the social media. We post them all over our social media, in addition to the job boards throughout all online and locally, and the Indeeds and the career builders. And then once you get a candidate, I apologize that my slides are delayed. Then what? And so what you want to do is you want to kick off. Did that not advance right, Claire? Hold on. It's hesitating again. Give me just a minute. All right. So once you have that candidate, they're selected, they've accepted the job, you've offered it to them, you want to start off strong on that culture. Because again, like I said, you created the culture, you've recruited strong candidates, now you've got your candidate in place. Now what? You want to make sure you have an official welcome for them. You want to introduce them to the team. It's not they just show up one day and start. You want to have a really robust onboarding program where you have a new employee orientation. You want to give them a tour of your office. You want to give them departmental overviews, even if it's not in their department, so they can have a holistic understanding of the organization. You want to make sure you give them calendar of events, anything that's going on in your organization, they need to go ahead and put it on their calendar. And we always do a welcome lunch, and we invite all the team. They bring their own lunch. We treat the candidate to lunch, but everybody comes in, and it's a really good way to just welcome them, informally get to know everyone, make sure they have all the tools and resources that they need to do their job adequately, all of their equipment, their laptops, whatever they need. You need to make sure they have all of that. I always have a culture discussion with them that I'll tell you in a minute. And you just really want to make it fun. Most of us, I'm assuming everyone on this call works for an organization that has a very strong mission. And we really, all of us, are so dedicated to it. We give so much of our time and our passion. You want to make sure it's fun too. And you don't want to lose sight of that. So you want to create an office environment that people want to come to. The mission is already there. They're already sold on your mission. But even though you have a good mission, if you don't have the right office environment, office culture, it can destroy that. And then you'll end up having a rotating door of staff turnover. So now you got that. And this is an example of when I say we go through all the onboarding. Each department meets with the team member, regardless what position they're in. They go over what their departments do and what their role is. And then at the end, they meet with me. That each each new employee meets with me, and I go over the whole culture conversation, basically what I share with y'all today. And I talk to them about our journey and where we are and how we got to where we are and how we created these culture statements and our commitment to what we want our office environment to be. And I always give them, it's a little cheesy, and y'all are welcome to borrow this too, but I give them a welcome team reminder toolkit, because for us, and I know for all of you, it is all about a team when you're working in a nonprofit. And that team can be volunteers, it can be staff, but you are not working in silos. You all depend on each other. And this is just a really cute box of goodies, and we call it our team toolkit reminder. And you can see how it says we have a nail file and tissues and a rubber band, lifesavers, and you can see like the nail file is to remind us that we'll go through rough times, and but they'll make you smoother. The tissues are to wipe away the times where you make an impact on families. The rubber band is to remind yourself you're going to be stretched. So it's a little cheesy, but it's a reminder of we're in this together. We've got each other's backs, and we're going to do that. And we're going to mess up, but we're going to learn from those mess ups and move on. And so we present that to them. And we also present a book on a positive environment, and it's just daily quotes on how to be positive. And we really talk about that culture, because now you're bringing someone new into this culture that you've established. What do you need to do to keep up that momentum? And so we make sure we start off strong with our onboarding, so they understand what they're coming into. So going back to what I said, build it and they will come. It really is all about culture when you're talking about recruiting staff, but also how do you retain those staff? So this is just a highlight of the discussions we just had. You want to create a positive and engaging work environment. How do you do that? It's through those 7 life lessons that I shared. You make sure you have a culture building staff retreat where you talk about what everybody wants in an office environment, and you try your best to meet that. You lead with kindness and empowerment, and whether you're running the organization, running the department, or leading up, if everyone has an approach of let's start off with kindness and let's start off with making sure we can empower people to be successful, you're going to be successful. It's as simple as that. But you also want to set behavior expectations. So one of the things that I have run into is a lot of times people that are younger haven't been in an office environment, and they don't know how to manage the freedom of flexibility and the freedom of these expectations. So what I always say is, I'm going to try my best to give you the world. I'm not a punitive leader. I'm going to come with give you the world. But if anyone abuses it, then that's when we have to start tightening up. So everyone has an understanding of let's don't take advantage of this environment. Let's make sure we are doing our jobs, we're meeting our goals, we're behaving the way we said we're going to behave, and that everybody flourishes and everybody benefits. Make sure you provide the tools that's needed. I mean, you don't want employees frustrated because their laptop doesn't work, or they don't have the tools to do their job. Make sure you have that. And listen to your team. Even if it's a squeaky wheel, listen to them. And when you do, because if you're giving them the benefit of the doubt and you have the trust, then they should trust you to lead in an empowering way. And you will have those times where you have maybe people that are just used to negative tone, and that's just how they go about life. And there are times where I've had to have very strong conversations where that's not what we're all about here. And if you thrive in drama and you thrive in negativity, this is not the place for you, because we all work way too hard. We spend way too much time together. We spend more time together than we do with our families. I won't let someone come in and sabotage what we've built here. So when you do have those, I hate to say bad apples, but bad apples that come in, and that's what they're needing something. So I try to approach them with the benefit of the doubt, but I'm very firm in this is an environment of positivity. This is an environment of kindness, and there will be no drama. And if you thrive in that, this isn't the place for you. And we're very clear and unapologetic about that. So, but still listen to your team. And just expect the best. Expect the best in behavior, expect the best in outcomes, and acknowledge and reward when you can. acknowledge people, what they're doing, their efforts, reward as much as you can. I mean, if it was up to us, we all would pay top dollar, but that's not the way the nonprofit business is. And we are competing in the corporate world. And so you've got to create an environment and benefits beyond what corporations have, where they, so you want to create an environment where people don't want to go anywhere else. And so just acknowledge and reward how you can through the benefits beyond pay, through listen to what they say is important to them. The other thing I meant to add on this is we have a staff, when they come on board, they fill out a form that's called an All About Me form. I should have added this to the staff in a slide, and it's what's your favorite color? What's your favorite restaurant? If you could go anywhere, where would it be? What's your favorite perfume? What's your favorite candy? And plant, what are your favorite colors? And they fill all of that out. So when it's time to, if we do a gift exchange at Christmas, or we want to do something happy, you can pull that out and you can see what their favorite things are. And even if it's just their favorite flowers or rose and they went beyond their goal in revenue, maybe you just go get them a couple of roses and put it on their desk. It's a really good way to acknowledge everyone's efforts. So in saying that, I think I have 2 slides left. And I think we've got some chats up that we'll get to in a minute. But these 2 slides to me really sum up my philosophy on how you recruit and retain staff, and what great leaders say to highly engaged teams. They thank them. They ask them what did they need from them to be successful. They own it and say, sorry, it's my fault. Even when it's not your fault, I apologize all the time for things that aren't my fault, but I'm going to take it for the team if I need to, if that's going to affect culture. Say you value their contribution. If somebody does mess up, we've all messed up. Ask them, what did they learn from this? And how can we use this next time so it doesn't happen? Tell them that you have faith in them, that they've done a great job. Ask for their feedback. What do they think? How can we use this to do better? Do you have the capacity to do this now? To me, that's so powerful. Do you have the capacity? Can you do this? Because a lot of, as we all know, we're all overworked. We could all say, no, we don't have the capacity, but at least acknowledging, hey, I see you. I know you're working hard. If you can't do this, let's talk about it. And of course, at the end is thank you. I think I already said that one. And then my last slide, and then I think we had some comments, is I love this quote: train people well enough so they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't want to leave. And I'll tell you, we have actually 2 employees that are leaving. We have a staff of 18. We have 2 leaving, and it has been so emotional because they don't want to leave, but they know they have to because they've got a great opportunity ahead of them. Another one has this opportunity. She's always wanted to be in the animal business and nonprofit, but she loves the culture. It is so hard to leave an organization when you're not running away from it, but you're running towards something else, and that's okay. And we celebrate it, even though it's emotional and it's hard. We celebrate it because we know while they were here, they've grown as people and they've grown as teammates, and they're going to take that to the next organization. So, the only thing constant is change. And so that's why I always tell my leadership team, let's make sure we create this culture so this culture can go on and they can affect other cultures. And what I love about the people that have left to other places is they don't tolerate the cattiness and because they know what a productive, positive culture, the thriving of that. They've seen it here, they've experienced it. So they won't tolerate it going back out. And that's how you can change a culture. And that's how you retain staff. So there you have it. I think that's it. Claire, how are we on time? 7 minutes to spare.
Minutes for questions. And there are a few questions in the chat if you want to pull it up, or I can read them.
Okay, let's see. Hold on. Give me just a minute. Share my screen. My mouse is talk about giving people the tools they need. Our AV has been so cattywampus here. All right, here we go. All right, I see him now. Well, there it goes. And I will stop sharing so we can look at everybody. Did it stop sharing, Claire?
Yes.
Are we good? All right. All right. So, all right. Hi, I'm AI assistant helping Tiffany. Okay, sorry. Okay. Did you all have staff participate in these exercises or just management? It was all staff. So at that time, we have a staff of 18 now. Then we only had a staff of maybe, I think, 10 or 11. It was all staff. We did an all day event where it was team building. And I've got a lot of resources I can share with you, but I set the tone of that meeting of we're going to get to know each other for one. So the first half of the meeting was really about this is who I am, my story. We did a lot of team building. It wasn't by department. We mixed everything up. And then it was discussions of what do we want in an office environment. That's kind of really what you start with because an office environment is culture, and everybody participated. But you have to set the parameters of there's no bad question. There's no bad feedback, even if it's negative, if it's bad, let's talk about it. So it was everybody. And yeah, the kit's great. Take it, steal it, borrow it. We love it. It is. I feel like it's hokey because I've used it for 15 years, but I think I love it. I love it. Can you share the All About Me forms? Yes, I will send those to Claire to send out. And can you share the All About Me? I really like this. Yeah, it is. It's simple, it's affordable. Even if it's just their favorite color is blue, get them a blue card. But there's a lot of things you can do with that. So I'll definitely send that to Claire to send out. And I think that's it, Claire.
Well, great. If no one has any other last minute questions, I'll close this out. Thank you so much, Tracy, for a wonderful program. I actually joined the internship program after watching Tracy speak at our Birmingham nonprofit in-person event on recruiting and retaining nonprofit staff. And it's so appealing to join an organization with a leader who cares so much about culture. So thank you for sharing that with us today. Everyone will be getting an email with a link for today's presentation and a recording and an opportunity to sign up to be a Carey Center nonprofit affiliate. The Carey Center nonprofit affiliate program currently serves over 325 nonprofits in Alabama and beyond and offers educational programming, professional development, and networking opportunities to nonprofit professionals. Carey Center nonprofit affiliates are the first to learn about upcoming programming, and membership is free. We are excited to announce that we are now offering the Carey Center Nonprofit Professional Certificate. This is an online, non-degreed certificate and is offered through a partnership with the Auburn University Office of Professional Education and Merit Nonprofit Professional Development and provides a tailored curriculum for nonprofit professionals. Merit is an anytime, anywhere micro-learning platform that builds 6 core nonprofit proficiency areas, which include leading, learning, resource generating, planning, managing, and overseeing through 28 learning paths. Thank you for joining us today. We hope to see you at one of our monthly virtual programs or in person for our nonprofit training series, Traveling the State. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Claire. I'll send that All About Me form in 5 minutes.
Great. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.